Chaos Uncontrolled Chapter 6 Clashing Lights. Chris watched as Sonic spin dashed at the other Knuckles. Other Knuckles caught him. He caught the spin dash, and he did it with one hand without even flinching. The hand Knuckles was using to hold Sonic in place had a red aura around it. He stood like that for a moment before charging up electricity in his free hand and slamming Sonic into the ground. A red shockwave ran across the earth and knocked Chris off balance. The brightness of the light forced Chris to shield his eyes, and when he could see again, Sonic was sitting dazed in a Sonic-sized crater, and Knuckles was standing over him and glaring. Sonic met eyes with the fake Knuckles. The guy's eyes had gone red and were glowing, but that was the least of his worries. He caught and stopped the spin dash. Sure, the real Knuckles had caught it before, but he hadn't been able to hold it and was pushed back. His spin dash had been nigh unstoppable before. Sonic had cut through solid metal with it before, and most Eggman robots would only take 1 or 2 attacks to take down. But this fake Knuckles just shrugged it off. He had to be being powered by a Chaos Emerald or something. But with how realistic he was, Sonic couldn't see any obvious weak points. Sonic turned and ran to prepare another spin dash. In the blur that was his vision, he could see the bright red light grow stronger. This time, fake Knuckles did not stop his spin dash, but instead deflected it away.
Cease your attack, Hedgehog. You cannot beat me.
That's what you think.
Sonic started to run in a circle around the fake to kick up dust and debris. Hopefully that would limit his vision and give Sonic more of an advantage. Fake Knuckles' glow made him easy to spot in the dust cloud, and gave him enough time to dodge under the incoming punch. When Sonic got another circle in, fake Knuckles threw a second punch. This one came far closer, and Sonic could feel the electricity graze past his face. He was too close. He had to make the circle bigger, otherwise he'd risk getting hit. The bigger circle meant that the fake Knuckles was no longer directly in the dust cloud, but instead in the center of a whirlwind. The robotic echidna's eyes were searching the dust for Sonic's location as he shifted into a defensive stance. His whole body was crackling with red energy.
I have seen this strategy before. Do not attempt to strike me. I am ready for it.
Oh, I doubt it. I'm the fastest thing there is. You're not ready for my speed.
Sonic's technique became to run in, land a small hit or two, and then run out. He managed to do this a few times before fake Knuckles grabbed him by the arm and tossed him to the ground.
You are my brother's counterpart. I am plenty ready for your speed.
Was he talking about Sonic's own robotic counterpart? Well, the most recent one, you should say. He sure did have a lot of robot doubles, didn't he? Eggman had put a lot of work into making him seem real, but if his job was to be an imposter, what was with the strange differences? Namely the voice and speech pattern. A few inaccuracies was understandable and even expected, but there was no way Eggman just accidentally gave him an entirely different accent and way of speaking. Was something else going on here? Sonic heard the buzz of electricity from the echidna, who was stood still in front of him, like he was expecting Sonic to say something. It didn't matter. He was dangerous. The other doubles had already caused problems, and who knows what Knuckles' copy could do if Sonic didn't stop him.
Please stop! He's got nothing to do with Eggman!
Chris was still here, in the danger zone. How could he be so oblivious? He had been so focused on finding the fake Knuckles that he had forgotten that Chris had been there with him. Sonic didn't want to picture what might have happened if Knuckles' copy had attacked Chris. If he was capable of stopping Sonic's spin dash like it was nothing, he could definitely deal severe damage to a human if he wanted to.
Come on, Chris, I better get you out of here.
Sonic picked up Chris and ran far from the battle zone as fast as he knew Chris could handle.
Now you wait here. I'm going to deal with that imposter.
Sonic ran back to the battle zone and saw that the copy hadn't moved in the short time he had left.
That was unnecessary.
I'm not going to let you hurt my friend.
I had no intention of hurting your friend. Christopher had kindly agreed to be my guide.
Sonic was starting to think that maybe this guy was actually a real person and felt a little bad about attacking him. Wait, that was it. That had to be Eggman's plan. To make a robot so lifelike that Sonic would constantly second-guess himself during the fight and never be entirely sure if he was fighting a robot. And the way Knuckles was some ways the same, but different in others made sense too. It all added to the confusion. Sonic snickered.
Hey Sparky, it's over now. I caught on to your tricks.
Tricks? I have spoken no lies, Hedgehog.
Sonic kept a smirk on his face. Now he just needed to work out how he was going to beat him. Sonic attempted to get more hits on Knuckles, but he kept deflecting them.
Leave my brother alone!
That and a flash of blue in the corner of his eye was all the warning Sonic got before something very fast slammed into his side and sent him flying. In truth, Tails Wachowski was not asleep. He had woken up the moment Rouge picked him up and started carrying him. Tails had automatically tensed when she lifted him up.
You're all right, hun. I'm going to get you somewhere safe.
Tails opened his eyes just a crack to see what was going on. Rouge had him in his arms and was flying over the city. His backpack was on her shoulders in such a way that it didn't get in the way of her wings. He doubted that he could wrestle it away from her or reach any of his inventions in his current position. He was confident that he could escape and lose her, but that would leave him without his inventions. And that was a situation he didn't want to be in. So he kept pretending and listening. Rouge eventually found her destination and went into a gentle dive. She walked up to the door and knocked. No one answered.
That's odd. This place is normally crawling with Sonic and his friends.
Tails had to clench his muscles to stop himself from leaping up at the mention of his brother's name. If people kept recognizing him, that meant there was a version of him. Rouge was probably referring to an alternate Sonic. Tails took account of his situation again. He was still being held by Rouge, but were on the ground now. He would probably have a better chance now. Rouge knocked on a different sounding door and Tails could hear what sounded like a garage door opening.
Rouge, what are you? Is that Tails?
Tails could hear an older man's voice, and in the tiny look he managed to sneak, he saw that he was wearing a lab coat.
Ah, Chuck Thorndike, wonderful to see you.
Mind explaining to me why you're carrying an unconscious Tails?
Chuck's voice was somewhat suspicious, but he didn't sound extremely worried.
Relax, he's just asleep, and besides, he's not even the Tails we know.
Oh, the Tails counterpart we've been looking for.
Darn, I was hoping for a more shocked reaction than that. Anyway, from what I can guess, he's from an entirely different universe.
Another alternate universe, eh?
Tails heard footsteps approaching and a third voice call out, one that he recognized.
He's the other Tails, isn't he? He stole my car and I want to see him own up to it.
Uh-oh, probably best to keep the sleeping act up while he was still there.
Oh, pipe down, Fly Guy. He's a kid and he's sleeping.
No, I'm not.
Tails silently replied with a hint of smugness.
Well, we should probably get him inside. I'll see if I can contact Ella. She probably is the best person to deal with this.
Rouge started moving again, and Tails heard the click of her heels change, indicating that she is walking on a different type of floor now. Tails counted the 3 doors opening and closing before he was laid on what was probably a couch. A short distance away, he heard the thump of his back on the floor, and Rouge's heels clicked again, and Tails felt a blanket being draped over him, and the couch shifted a bit as Rouge sat down onto it. Tails guessed that this was a living room, and he was about to open an eye to get a better look, but fastly, heavy footsteps filled the room, followed by tiny ones.
Oh my, he really does look just like Tails.
A completely new voice sounded next to his ear. Was this that Ella person Chuck mentioned? That seemed likely.
Miss Ella, is he okay?
A new voice. This one sounded like a young girl.
I'm sure he's okay, Cream. He just needs to rest.
So her name was Cream. That meant at least Ella, Rouge, and Cream were in the room, and maybe Chuck and Sam. 5 people with unknown abilities and his bag with all of his inventions out of reach. This was a bad situation. Tails chose to bide his time a little longer. People kept on moving around the room and sometimes left it. Tails was confident in saying that it was just Rouge and Cream in the room right now. He could hear Ella scolding Sam and Chuck over in the other room.
Unbelievable. It's like those two don't even realize we have a sleeping guest.
They still believed he was asleep. At least he still had that advantage.
He was hiding from us all night. He needs rest.
Tails was getting bored of all this waiting. He hadn't heard them say anything useful for a while, and he was coming to the conclusion that they were genuine about their intent to help him. Tails heard Cream exclaim in shock. Apparently, she was looking through his bag. Whatever it was, Ella had confiscated it. Tails opened an eye to try and see what it was, and met eyes with the young girl.
Ella, he's awake.
Tails looked around the room. It looked like a perfectly ordinary living room, but a bit larger than the one in his home.
Hello, sweetie. Did you sleep well?
Yes.
The door slammed open and Chuck ran through.
Did you say he was awake?
Chuck came very close to Tails and started to look him over.
So you're from a different universe?
It seems that way.
Do you think anyone else is here?
I think my brothers are here, and I hope my parents are here too.
Cream looked up at him with a sweet but slightly sad expression.
I hope they're here too. It's not nice to be separated from your parents.
Wait, do you think your Eggman could be here?
Tails froze. No, he couldn't be. There was no way. Robotnik was gone. He had to be gone.
Commander?
The man looked up from his desk at the low-ranking agent who entered the room.
Yes,
We have a new transfer.
The agent placed a file onto his desk.
Agent Stone.
Yes, apparently he's been with us for a while. He just slipped through the cracks somehow. Strangely, no one remembers seeing him around, but his paperwork all checks out. So I guess the guy's just shy.
The commander sorted through the file.
How could we miss this guy? Incredible IQ level, speaks multiple languages, skills in robotics. He's got an impressive list of accomplishments.
He also makes an excellent latte.
Are we there yet?
Charmy, how can we be there if we don't know where here is?
Espio had been wrestling a hyper Charmy away from getting another cookie from the jar. He had already had 4 in the last 10 minutes. When a bright light had filled the room, when it was clear the two of them were no longer in the detective agency, and Vector was nowhere to be seen. At first, they had ended up in an area without civilization and had been wandering around for a while. Espio was certain that they were lost. The stars looked basically the same, but the moon was split in half. Charmy spent the next 3 hours after seeing it babbling theories about it and driving Espio mad. He seriously considered knocking him out. Espio was thankful for his prior experience dealing with Charmy and Vector's antics that allowed him to keep his composure. Now they were in a place where a bunch of robot parts had been dumped.
Hey, what's that?
Espio took a look at what Charmy found.
Is that an Eggman logo?
I think so.
He must have a base here.
Espio signaled Charmy to be quiet, and he turned invisible. He sneaked closer to a somewhat suspicious-looking wall. He could see grooves in the wall that suggested that it could open. Espio felt around for a way of opening it and had his back turned to Charmy.
Hey, what do you think you're doing here?
Espio turned and saw Charmy and Bokun getting up in each other's faces.
This is an Eggman base, isn't it?
Bokun jumped and yelled when Espio turned himself visible.
Why did you do that? Don't you know it's rude to sneak up on people like that?
Where's Eggman?
He's not here.
Bokun crossed his arms and looked away.
Then where is he?
Don't know, he's on a special mission.
Bokun was avoiding all of their questions. Espio looked up and met eyes with Charmy. Looks like it was time for an interrogation. Amy rubbed her arm in pain. The other Sonic had pulled her off her feet so suddenly that she was worried she had dislocated her arm at first. Amy yelled at him to stop, and when he did, he had been extremely apologetic. Apparently, he would do this all the time with his brothers, and they were fine. Other Sonic had been insistent to go help his brother, so had gone ahead and left Amy to catch up later. After a lot of apologizing, of course.
Wait, you've got it all wrong.
Amy turned the corner to see Chris yelling at something.
Chris,
Amy,
What's going on?
Sonic's fighting the other Knuckles.
Chris pointed in a particular direction. Amy really should have guessed.
Of course they are. Well, I better go help Sonic.
Amy brought her hammer out, ready for a fight. Her Sonic needed help. Chris was yelling something as she left, but she couldn't catch what he said. Amy heard Sonic yell and he practically fell into her arms.
Sonic, what happened?
I was fighting that fake Knuckles when my fake attacked me.
After I had lunch with him? How dare he?
Amy summoned her hammer and marched in the direction Sonic had flown from. Sonic Wachowski was getting closer to his older brother. There he was! And getting bombarded by attacks from Sonic's own duplicate. How dare he? Sonic felt his power charge up and he dashed forwards.
Leave my brother alone!
Sonic dashed into his other self and sent him flying. He was immediately scooped up into a crushing hug from Knuckles, whose face had brightened at the sight of him.
Sonic, are you hurt?
Knuckles was looking over Sonic with a careful eye.
I'm fine. Have you seen Tails?
No, but I have met his counterparts.
Darn. I hope he's okay.
Our brother is clever and resourceful. He will not be helpless.
Sonic heard a running noise and his own counterpart appeared in front of him.
Whoa, that's me!
Sonic stepped forwards in awe. The guy looked just like him.
Yep, take a good look at the real thing. Wait, real thing?
Sonic looked over to Knuckles in confusion.
Your counterpart seems to believe that we are machines.
Huh? Why would he think that?
Knuckles shrugged.
I have been unable to convince him otherwise.
Sonic looked between himself and his counterpart. Why do you think they were robots?
Hey, other me? Why do you think we're robots? I've already cracked your plan. You can't trick me.
Other Sonic charged forwards and forced him and Knuckles to dodge.
You!
Sonic turned and found himself face to face with a very angry Amy.
You have lunch with me and then you're going to attack my Sonic?
Amy attempted to swing her hammer at him, but Knuckles got in the way and grabbed it.
Do not attack my brother.
Amy's face was taken over by shock, and she tried and failed to pull the hammer away from his grip.
Hang on, Amy!
The other him came charging back around and bashed into Knuckles, slightly staggering him and taking his attention away from Amy. The pink hedgehog used this tiny window of opportunity to let go of her hammer and summon another one. How many did she have? Sonic stopped following this train of thought, though, when he saw his counterpart zipping around and landing lots of small kicks on Knuckles. His older brother was looking more and more annoyed, but remained in a defensive stance. Sonic saw Amy approach Knuckles with her hammer, ready, and he reacted in an instant. His dash knocked both her and his double to the ground. Sonic ended up right next to Knuckles, and the older two Wachowski brothers met eyes. They could defeat the other two easily. It would not take much for Knuckles to deliver an earth-shattering punch to them, or for Sonic to run hundreds of circles around them in the time it took them to blink. But they weren't trying to beat them. They just wanted to get their family back together and go home. Something crashed into Sonic, and he felt himself being dragged away from where he was standing.
Sonic!
Knuckles' voice sounded very far away. Sonic got to his feet and found himself face to face with his double. No, he just found one of his brothers, and now he was separated from them again. Sonic could feel his panic building up. How would he get his other self to listen? Sonic watched his counterpart's breathing quicken, and electricity arched across his body. This was too real. He was too real. Sonic had messed up.
Hey, other me?
His counterpart was panicking, and Sonic had no clue what to do. Should he bring him back to the other Knuckles? He'd probably get attacked almost instantly. This Knuckles had shown himself to have just as much of a protective streak as the one he knew.
Sonic!
Okay, Knuckles, calm down, listen to me, and I can explain.
The echidna in question silenced him with a glare and pulled his apparent brother into a hug. Seeing a version of Knuckles and himself be so close was strange. Knuckles was definitely one of his pals, but the Knuckles he knew would never come for him like this.
Why? You attacked. I want to know why.
I thought you guys were dangerous robots who were endangering the city.
You acted with a desire to protect. That is respectable.
Other Knuckles gave him a nod of approval.
Wait, you're not mad at me for attacking you?
Psh, You did not harm me in the slightest. My youngest brother Tails hit me with the car on our first meeting. I hold no anger towards him, nor do I hold anger towards you.
I'm not mad either. Everyone says you're a hero, and heroes make mistakes. I should know. Phew, that's a relief. Wait, what was that first part again?
Did other Knuckles just say Tails hit him with the car and just moved on like it was a completely normal thing? Sonic had to meet this other Tails. He had stolen the fastest car on Earth and had hit Knuckles with a car at their first meeting.
What part?
The part where you said Tails hit Knuckles with a car.
Oh, right. That was because Knuckles was... Wait, no. If I say that, you'll get the wrong impression. I'll need to tell you the context for that. And to give you context for that, you'll need a history lesson.
Sonic watched his counterpart Rainbow gesture with his hands. How could it possibly be necessary to need a history lesson to have context for Tails hitting Knuckles with a car?
You do not need context. Tails hit me with a car to prevent me from...
His brother zipped over and covered his mouth.
No, Nux, not yet. He needs to know the motivations first.
Motivation? This is not that complex. Tails hit me with the car because I...
Sonic watched the back and forth argument about whether or not he needed context for Tails hitting Knuckles with the car. It was such a petty argument. What was going on?
Listen to me, brother. That story is long and complex. We do not need to explain our first meeting.
Yes we do. That story gives the whole reason why we all met up.
We do not need to go that far back.
But we do. We need to keep going back for the context, all the way back to...
He paused and dabbled over in laughter.
Sonic?
Knuckles was giving his brother a concerned look.
Think about it, Nux. Tails hit you with the car because the Master Emerald was forged.
You are not making any sense.
Other Sonic had the biggest, most cheeky grin on his face.
Think about the order of events and why things happened.
Knuckles thought over what his brother said. Eventually, he seemed to come to a conclusion inside.
You are not entirely wrong, but I would not call you correct.
Other Sonic looked very happy to have Knuckles somewhat agree with him. What was going on in their world? They naturally generate some kind of electricity. They considered themselves brothers, and somehow the creation of the Master Emerald had some kind of butterfly effect, leading to Tails hitting Knuckles with a car? This was turning out to be one of Sonic's most bizarre days.